The right to life means generally you have the right to live. Nobody must disturb your existence. And in the case of State versus Makwanyane, there was a death penalty in section 227 and it was declared invalid. That means generally you have the right to life. Nobody must disturb your existence.
Life. A right to life is to someone to have a life longer, not someone to cause suicide or someone to kill someone.
Yeah. A right to life is you must be free. Nobody can do something bad to you. Yeah, such things like that.
So I think I'm not quite sure what the right to life is, but basically what I'm thinking is I have the right to be here. Like no one can tell me no, you don't belong here or anything like that. I think that's what maybe it evolves around basically.
Okay, I think the right to life is being able to do like basic stuff that a human being needs to do, like eating. You need to eat to live. You need housing, and yes, that's what the ability to do like basic things that human beings need. That's what I think the right to life.
In a nutshell, the right to life is the entitlement that every being has to live. This right is absolute. That means that it cannot even be limited, even in terms of Section 36 of the Constitution. The Constitutional Court made a landmark decision in State versus Makwanyane when it decided to end the death penalty because it was no longer consistent with the supreme law of the country, which is the Constitution, which was then the interim Constitution of 1993, which came into effect on the 27th of April, 1994. So basically, this right is yours to live, to enjoy. Nobody, not even the states, can touch it. Thank you.
So the right to life is found in our Bill of Rights in the Constitution. Section 11 says that everyone has a right to life, but the right to life is also intrinsically linked to the right to dignity and the security of persons. So Section 10 of the Constitution deals with the right to dignity and security of person, which includes the right not to be treated in a cruel or inhuman way or to be tortured, which is linked to the right to life, is in Section 12. So the right to life is our Constitutional Court has said that the right to life and dignity are our two most important rights. Insofar as they're referred to as absolute rights in South Africa, it means that, generally speaking, no other rights trump them. Normally, no right in our Constitution is without limitation, but the right to life is one right that cannot be limited by other rights. There are obviously situations whereby the right to life has some limitations in South African law, normally when we're talking about self-defense or use of force of police, where it is protecting that right for other people. So our Constitution does not generally allow the deprivation of people's right to life. There are very few scenarios that allow for people to be killed, including euthanasia, something which our courts still have not clarified. And the only situations in law which permit situations like that are situations whereby people may act in self-defense or the police may use force. And even those situations are very strictly limited in terms of how the force is reasonable, or when you act in self-defense, how reasonable and proportional your actions are. Yes, so our Constitutional Court has been very clear that the death penalty is a violation of not only the right to life, but also the right not to be treated in a cruel, inhuman, or undignified manner. And so the death penalty violates your right to dignity, your right to life, and also your right to security of a person. So it directly infringes on 3 different rights in the Constitution. Legally does not violate the right to life. The Choice of Termination of Pregnancy Act allows for abortion in the first trimester and in other situations whereby the right to life might actually be infringed or be at risk for women or mothers who are in pregnancy. And this case has been taken to court, to the Constitutional Court, to challenge whether or not abortion is a violation of right to life. And what the court said was that although everyone has a right to life, the definition of everyone does not include fetuses who do not have legal personality, and that is why they are not protected by the Constitution and by that particular provision. What is of a bigger concern is the people who are protected by the Constitution, which are mothers who are carrying fetuses. And traditionally, particularly in third world countries, pregnancies have always been complicated due to the lack of advanced medical care, and normally mothers are the ones who are at risk. And at the moment, our law recognizes the right of choice for mothers regarding pregnancy, depending of where the stage of the pregnancy is. So we obviously, a lot of countries still have the death penalty, and the death penalty is something that is complicated in society because a lot of people experience crime and a lot of heinous acts, whether it is murder, rape, or a lot of things that in society are stigmatized. And general perceptions around, for victims, around how we then treat people who have committed what in society are felt as very brutal crimes. Most people still support the death penalty, not just in South Africa, but around the world, right? And this becomes an issue around, what justice is, whether justice should be restorative, justice should be about corrective, or justice should be punitive. And some people still believe in punitive justice and not exactly balancing the weights of the different weights that exist in society. Every person who is accused of a particular crime also has rights, and most, if not all, countries still have flawed criminal justice systems. So in our view, the right to life should obviously be absolute, and the use of the death penalty is flawed, and there are a lot of different reasons around this. So lawyers for human rights have always, in its inception, Lawyers for Human Rights, the work that it did 40 years ago during apartheid was assisting people who were on the death penalty, trying to get pardons, clemency, or trying to do criminal appeals for people who had been convicted and were facing the death penalty, people who were opposing the apartheid government. So we've always worked, almost the genesis of this organization has always been around this right to life issue, challenging the death penalty through legal means. Part of Lawyers for Human Rights' this work was being involved in the constitutional drafting period and putting in recommendations around the right to life. And we're involved in the S versus Makwanyane case, which eventually clarified that the death penalty was unconstitutional. And we've been involved in a number of cases involving extradition of individuals from South Africa where they enjoy the right to life to places where they might face the death penalty. Recently, we had the issue around the right to life and the prohibition of the death penalty applying even to people who face extradition being part of our law in the State versus Thebe case, where we had the Constitutional Court reaffirm this particular position. And a lot of our refugee and migrant rights cases, which are really around non-refoulement, not sending people back to places where they'll face persecution, death, or torture, really are around the fact that we protect the right to life in this country. And those are some of the cases that we've dealt with around the right to life. And it is an important principle that is really at the core of the work that we do.